News 8.
More than 2 years after Jessica Heeringa disappeared from a Norton Shores gas station, one name keeps popping up: Brad Mason.
Police were arresting him for a brutal abduction and rape in Kalamazoo when they shot him to death last year. New tonight, Target 8 investigator Ken Kolker is uncovering that even in death, some persons of interest are more interesting than others. Ken?
Yeah, Brian and Marley. Police in Kalamazoo and Norton Shores tell Target 8 they're intrigued by similarities between abductions committed by Brad Mason over the last decade and the disappearance of Jessica Heeringa, and by what he did with his cell phone the night she disappeared. Do you think the guy who did this to you is capable of that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I thought I was going to die for sure. 100% sure.
It certainly seemed like a definite possibility that Brad Mason could have been responsible for Jessica Heeringa's disappearance.
It's a possibility, so, you know.
Brad Mason's first known victim, along with a Kalamazoo detective and even his own father, think Mason could be more than just a person of interest. Police also point out Mason's connection to Muskegon, that he had been paroled to a halfway house a few miles down the highway from where Jessica was last seen.
And maybe he was here that night and saw Jessica outside, and he took an opportunity.
The first known opportunity he took, his first victim was here, just outside Galesburg in May 2004, a 28-year-old woman returning home with groceries.
I was going to get my baby out of the car seat, and this guy just grabbed me and choked me unconscious and kidnapped me for a couple hours and drove me way out in the middle of nowhere.
Into a field a few miles away, where he raped her repeatedly.
I was like, oh my gosh, he's gonna cut me into little pieces now, and I didn't know what was going to happen.
She says he acted as if he had done this before.
Because he was like really weird about like wiping out all the fingerprints out of the hole inside of the truck.
He later cried, then dropped her off near her car where her baby was still sleeping. Kalamazoo Sheriff detectives identified Mason as a suspect early on, but Mason denied it. The victim couldn't identify him, and he left no DNA.
The truth is that it hurts because it's real.
11 years later, a 24-year-old woman was walking to her boyfriend's house near South Westnedge in Kalamazoo early in the morning on February 5th, 2014, when she rebuffed a stranger's offer for a ride. Minutes later, he was back, punching her in the face, driving her away, choking her with his hands and with a strap, threatening to kill her.
She was held for several hours, repeatedly sexually assaulted, tortured. It was very brutal. It was the most violent that I had ever seen in my career here.
The rapist then dropped her off not far from where he had grabbed her. Kalamazoo detectives quickly zeroed in on Mason. Then they found that 2004 case from Galesburg.
Once we had reviewed the 2004 Kalamazoo County case, we felt pretty confident that he was a serial abductor rapist.
Kalamazoo police were trying to arrest him 2 days after the South Westnedge abduction when he came to the door with a realistic toy gun. Police shot him dead. Days later, Mason's father told police that his son had confessed that 2004 rape to him.
When I asked him why he keeps doing it, he said, because I'm slick, Dad. He said, I think I'm smarter than they are.
It was Kalamazoo detective Kristen Cole who later noticed the similarities between Mason's attacks and the Jessica Heeringa abduction.
Both victims were petite white females. Both victims had glasses.
Mason had punched his Kalamazoo victim in the face, causing her to bleed. Police found traces of Heeringa's blood outside the gas station. Then there was the composite of the Heeringa suspect.
It looked to me like it could be a possibility that it was Brad Mason.
Norton Shores detectives took it from there, but it went nowhere. They had hoped he had left a trail of credit card receipts, maybe even at the Exxon, but he used only cash. Searches turned up nothing at his Kalamazoo apartment. They hoped his phone had pinged on cell towers around Norton Shores the day Jessica disappeared, but he had turned off his phone at 9 that night.
He also did it those nights that he abducted those other women.
The bottom line, no direct links to Jessica Heeringa, but no alibis either.
That's a fear of mine. I'll say that. That'll be one fear that I'm hoping against, that if it is or somehow linked to him, that he took it to his grave, and only he knew where Jessica's at, and only he knew what happened that night. I'm hoping that doesn't work out that way.
Now, police say they have identified other persons of interest as well. They hope somebody who knew Mason will come forward with either a link to Jessica or with an alibi so they can move on with the case.
Ken, the one lead that police in Norton Shores had with the Heeringa case was surveillance video of that silver minivan. Any link?
You know, right now they have not, tied him with the silver minivan, but even his own father says he had access to a lot of different vehicles. I mean, he had been convicted of auto theft in the past, so he ran a chop shop at some point. So,
so many
who knows?
frustrations here because only using cash, turning off his cell phone, just anything that police can grasp at.
Yeah,
he covered.
Absolutely.
Wow.
All right, Ken Kolker, thank you for that.
Now, police are, though, still looking for tips about what happened to Jessica. You can call Silent Observer. There is a $26,000 reward. Also, right now on WoodTV.com, we have a complete timeline showing all of the key moments in the case.